Absolutely. We seen Deshaun Jackson not even a week prior to this go through the same thing in the NFL. We seen the Cannon go through it. But this is a conversation that's been happening through the music industry, whether it be conversations formulated in a different way, the Illuminati, whatever it may be. But we all know who owns the music industry, who owns the labels, who owns the publishing and things like that. They don't like us to talk about it. So can you kind of just dive into your experiences within the music industry and how this correlates to what everything we're seeing right now?
Yeah, man. It's real. We did a episode on my podcast, Truth Talks, where we talked about a secret meeting that was held in regards of the direction that hip hop would go, and because some of the major labels were investing in private prisons. So we spoke about how they made sure that gangster rap was pushed to the forefront more than any other genre of hip hop at the time, to basically influence the youth into committing crimes and living a gangster life or a thug life or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? We were all basically tricked, man. You know what I'm saying? What we thought we were expressing ourselves and getting frustration off our chest about the way we were forced to live in these ghettos and in the slums. And at the same time, they're the ones that took our lifestyles and they glamorized it. They put the lights and the cameras behind it and said, look, like this looks attractive, don't it? You know what I'm saying? But we were simply like, yo, this is where we come from. This is what we had to go through. It wasn't the fact that we were glamorizing it, because in a lot of our songs, we told people, like, we glad we not living that life no more. It wasn't fun. You know what I'm saying? We was forced to live that way, but when we got up out of it, we started to try to turn around and do positive things. And, that's one thing I feel like people need to know. It was, when they asked what happened to all the conscious rappers, that's what happened to them. Because they made it a point to make sure that those kind of messages and this kind of rap music would not be acceptable to the fans anymore. If it's not violent, we're not going to push it. If it has a message, if you're trying to educate the people, we're not having it. We want them listening to strictly nonsense. Nothing that's going to be dangerous to us. We don't want any uprisings, because they understood the power that Tupac possessed. That's why they were probably happy when he was gone, because they was like, we almost had a Malcolm X on a way bigger level behind hip hop. It would have been times 10. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, so after Tupac, it was basically like, okay, we dodged that. We need to change it, get rid of conscious rap. So what they do, let's make sure these dudes get them niggas a couple of dollars. Give them a couple of dollars, make them forget that it's even a problem. You know what I'm saying? And that's basically what happened. They started giving us all this money, and people started to it was no longer about the struggle. It was about me. It's all about me. You know what I'm saying? And that's where we at now. And that's why no messages get through the youth right now, because the record industry has programmed this way of music getting out to the youth, to where it's only one genre of hip hop that's reaching them. They've narrowed it down. You have to sound like what's on the radio right now and talk about what they're talking about in order to see any success. That's bottom line, with a few exceptions. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we've been going through this. Like I said, Nick Cannon wasn't really saying nothing wrong. He just said something that they didn't want to hear. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Right. Could you speak about that? You talked about, I actually listened to that conversation today, and you also talked about, the rappers promoting criminality, but can you talk about them promoting the drug use too, and pushing that on people, and now wanting kids to try lean, Xanax, and all types of Molly and stuff like that?
Yeah, man. It's like crazy the level of deaths we see from these drug overdoses, and it's like It's like, and some of these young kids, these young artists, they have pre-existing mental issues,
Mm-hmm.
and these labels, they don't take any of that into consideration when they're giving them these deals and get them all this money, and they're not guiding them at all. There is no guidance. There is no blueprint. It's just like it's all over the place right now, and anything goes. And I'm not gonna sit here and be a hypocrite. We talked about like marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We talked about drinking, and we talked about occasionally doing ecstasy or whatever. But we did those things like when you're young, you're gonna experiment. We did those things separately. We didn't sit there and try to do every damn drug ever invented at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Because that's only gonna end up in tragedy. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like somebody got to get at these youngsters and tell them, man, like it ain't like you can lose your life, and then everything you worked for to get to this point is done. You know what I'm saying? So it's just to me, it's a lack of leadership, and it's a lack of positive role models out there that's not scared to step up, and not just gonna sit back and scared to be ridiculed because you speak out against what everybody else is doing. There's nothing wrong with being different.
Right. Could you go a little bit deeper into the prison industrial complex and how these labels and stuff, that they buy stocks in it, but they also feed, the prison industrial complex through these artists, and on the back end, reap the benefits through the prisons and the kids going to prison through the criminality. Could you link that entirely?
Oh yeah, man. So the labels are getting paid both ways. You know what I'm saying? They're getting paid they were getting paid off the gangster music that they were promoting to the urban youth, and they were getting paid when the urban youth was being influenced by this music, going out committing crimes and ending up in their prisons that they had stock invested in. You know what I'm saying? So they were killing it on both ends. And it's the trap, and it was just a trap all the way around, and we had no idea what it was. Like I said, we were simply expressing ourselves in our art form, but they took it to a whole nother level of evil. You know what I'm saying? I say a whole nother level of evil, and just had to keep their slave mentality over us this whole time. Through it all, through everything we've done, man, they've always had to have some type of control over what we've done, even if we created it. They've always had to come in and somehow feel like they had to be the overseers or the supervisors of what we do, when we really don't need that, because we created it. We know damn well how to operate it.
Right. How come you don't see, because you've seen a lot of hip hop entertainers throughout time evolve into a very high tax bracket, billionaire status, high millionaire status, but we don't see that transition into banks. We don't see that transition into certain avenues where we know Black people as a culture are lacking, and we need those certain systems in order to operate properly and just to have some kind of power structure within this game. How come we don't see more of that, in your opinion, when it comes to the higher power up in hip hop and us as a people?
Man, because we gotta quit holding back and calling these people out for what it is, because people ain't coming together. When they get this, when they accumulate this, they don't come together, and they don't try to educate the people coming from behind them. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like if Black lives is gonna matter, it got to matter all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
It got to matter with the police. It got to matter with Black on Black crime. It got to matter within the music industry. It has to matter within the entertainment industry. You know what I'm saying? Because I really don't like that word Black owned record label. Really don't mean nothing to me, because like these Black owned labels, they don't sign these Black artists, and they don't teach them the business. They don't teach them what not to do to get caught up. They do the same thing to them that was done to them.
Yep.
And they take advantage of these artists instead of educating them. They do the same thing that the slave master did. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we got all that has to change. All that has to change. You have to keep passing it down to the next generation. You can't just hold it to yourself because you're going to die one day. You can't take it with you. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to pass this wealth and this knowledge down so it can keep being passed down from generation to generation. That's what other races do. That's what other people do.
Absolutely. We
You know what I'm saying? So we got to get strong like that mentally, for real.
We talked about because during that Nick Cannon debacle, Diddy told him to come on home to revolt. We had a conversation on the podcast, and I said, with all due respect, I've met Diddy one time in a nightclub. I was doing a detail for him, but I said he was full of shit. I said, because what has revolt really done for Black people that we've seen out here outright? All we've seen is criticism behind the scenes. What do you think about that? Am I too far-fetched to think that way when it comes to Diddy and Revolt TV?
I mean, I really can't speak on it because I really don't follow really what